I didn't really think about like having a strategy, having a business strategy. We were just good with like, let's just roll with the flow. This is doing well. Like we're generating revenue. Okay. We were just able to buy a new car and pay cash for it. That's crazy. Like who pays cash for a brand new car? Oh, this is really fun.
Startups with Stu is a podcast for anyone living or wanting to live the startup life, either as a founder or a team member. Your host, Stuart Draper, was a 9-time Inc. 5000 honoree before age 40. This show dives deep into the exhilarating world of entrepreneurship with guests that are seeking advice from Stu for their startup or business owners that want to share their entrepreneurial journey. Listeners always walk away with actionable ideas of what to do to take their startup to the moon. Startup life can feel like a roller coaster ride. And with Startups with Stu, you're likely to turn your roller coaster ride into a rocket ship ride. Get ready to uncover the secrets to startup success from visionary founders and savvy investors who've transformed groundbreaking ideas into thriving ventures.
This episode is brought to you today by PodUp. PodUp.com is the leading all-in-one AI-powered podcasting software. If you've ever considered having a podcast, want to get started, go to podup.com and check it out. I produce my podcast, use a variety of tools and producers that help me get everything done that I'm doing. Podallies.com is the agency I choose. If you're interested in having a podcast, you don't want to do it yourself through podup.com, I highly recommend that you go check out podallies.com and schedule a strategy call with one of their production specialists. They will be able to help you and think through everything you need to before you get started on your journey as a podcaster. Here goes another fun episode with a female business leader. Today we have with us Mrs. Jessica Mortensen, the leader of Karie's Frozen Custard. Jessica, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So Jessica, tell me about how you stumbled into the Karie's opportunity.
Okay. So my youngest child was getting ready to go to school, and I felt like I wanted to do something. I've always been kind of an entrepreneurial spirit since I was young. And I always felt like I wanted to do something I can contribute. I have this set of skills. I'm a contributor. Like that's kind of how my mindset's always been. And so when my youngest went to school, I was just looking for what is going to make sense? What is going to be something that I want to do? And there was this cutest little yellow trailer parked around the corner from our house. And it was ran by a college student. And he was meeting a graduation requirement by starting a business. And we got to know him, and I thought, oh my gosh, this would be so fun. I would love to do something like this. And so that kind of really got my wheels spinning. And it wasn't necessarily like food truck, but I really loved that having a business that served something good that people really liked, and that you weren't having to beg people to come to. And so that really kind of was the opening to, we get to know this student and he's getting ready to graduate. And so we just offered to buy the business, and here we are 11, 12 years later.
So it's been that long now. Good for you. So by the way, any business that's made it 10 years is top 5%, right? Like a lot of businesses don't last that long. Things don't work out for a variety of reasons. You've been able to hang on that long. I'm guessing you bought at the right price to start off with. How did you guys come up with the valuation, and how much did you pay for the business?
Yeah. So at that point, it wasn't really worth anything. It wasn't like making huge amounts of revenue. It just was kind of a little fun side gig, whatever the kid that started the business, his name is Johnny, whatever he made, it was kind of to put towards his family, but it really wasn't like a revenue generating, like major cash flowing business in the beginning. So we kind of paid for a lot of blue sky. There was a lot of used equipment. There was nothing new. It was all kind of like jigsawed together. But this kid had this idea and this love for this business concept, which it actually is kind of what we fell in love with. Was Karie Ann was his wife's name, and it just kind of like felt like, oh man, this would be a really good fit. So initially we started and we paid about $40,000 for it.
Okay. That included the trailer and all the equipment that you needed to get going.
Yeah. But like way overpaid.
Yeah.
But it was worth it. It was worth it because it just felt like it felt right. And we knew we were launching him on his way for his like career. So it just kind of fit. If you look back at it, like now knowing what I know about finances and about investing in businesses, like totally doesn't make sense. But in the mindset that we were in at that time, looking for something, it felt good.
So tell us about Johnny. Have you followed his story? What's he done? Has he done other entrepreneurial things since?
Yeah, he's started multiple businesses. He lives in the Boise area. I keep in touch with him. I talk with him about every couple of years.
Oh,
it's
cool.
It's actually really fun. When we had our first grand opening over in that Treasure Valley area, him and his family came out. It's been really fun. We have a really good relationship, and we've maintained that over the years. So that's been really fun.
Yeah, that's really neat that it's been able to work out, and that you say, hey, I overpaid, but really I'm so grateful still, and it was worth it because in the long run, look where we've gone, and it's still going. Yeah. So and its potential is still astronomical, to the moon, as I say on Startups with Stu. On Startups with Stu, we talk about what it takes to take your startup to the moon. So what does that look like for you in your mind right now? I think that evolves for every founder, for every entrepreneur. Like for you, what was it originally? What was the original dream, and how's that dream evolving?
Right. So originally I remember like even saying it out loud, like if I, at the end of each summer, if I could make $500 extra to put into my children's like college fund, I would be so stoked. Like that's almost laughable now, but really in the beginning there were a few things that were super important to me, that I felt like, those innate vision, mission, goals, like things that you want to integrate into your business. So in the beginning, like there was a lot of those that we kind of based our model after, like this is what's important to us. But really, as you're saying, like where we started to where we are now, like I never could have even imagined, to be totally honest. I really just thought, like, we'll just grow this organically, stay true to ourselves. I can't worry about what other businesses are doing. We just have to do the best at what we're doing. And to me also, like being honest with other people and dealings. Like I didn't want to be the person, because initially, there was a lot of cash, like we dealt in a lot of cash, and I just have never wanted to be the person who had to look over my shoulder and like wonder at what point will this catch up to me. So there were some things right off the bat that like, this is where we started, but it felt so small and so insignificant. And I remember like multiple years, like we've got to upgrade the equipment. So we're not going to pay ourselves. We're just going to pay the employees. It almost was like a gift just to keep me busy.
Yeah. So now what's happened? Like, is the vision the same? Is it still like, hey, save a little money for the family to go on fun trips? Or is it bigger than that now? Like you're a mother of three, youngest is your second just graduated, only one left at the house. So what's the future hold?
Yeah. So, when we had Rexburg, and then within a couple of years we opened the Logan, Utah outlet. And then we did the Pocatello outlet, and we started just noticing this trend of like, okay, our locations, they're starting off a little bit slow, but by year 3 and 4, like things really take off for us. And for the first like 7 or 8 years, I felt like it was just an evolving, like learning what processes are and how to put your processes together and what makes sense and how to be the most efficient. To all of a sudden, we started getting, probably year 4, we started getting all these inquiries about franchise. Will you franchise? Will you branch out? Will you license? Can we partner? What does this look like? And at that point, I thought like, no, well, this is just fun. Like, this is just a fun side gig. This isn't really something that I had ever kind of thought about. All of our growth was organic. So I didn't really think about like having a strategy, having a business strategy. We were just good with like, let's just roll with the flow. This is doing well. Like, we're generating revenue. Okay. We were just able to buy a new car and pay cash for it. That's crazy. Like, who pays cash for a brand new car? Oh, this is really fun. To like, maybe we should explore what this opportunity would look like for others. And up until now, really this year, it's been a seasonal business. So really, we had this like really busy season, and then we would shut down and I kind of wouldn't think about it anymore, the business. And once I started entertaining franchising, that was like a huge eye opener of like, oh man, I better put my big girl pants on and like get ready to rock, because I have a lot of things to learn. I don't know all the things. And we're going to have to pivot multiple times, which is kind of like where we are now.
So
the pivot.
A lot of like falling into opportunity that happened for you, it sounds like. I remember early days at Stu Kent, we had written our first textbook and published our first simulation. We were selling both of those things. And it was like professors came to us and they said, hey, when are you going to do, you got the digital marketing thing going. When are you going to do social media marketing? When are you going to do analytics? Are you going to do other marketing subjects? And so similar to your situation, we had new opportunities that were coming to us. And then it was a matter of how did we want to respond? I remember as a kid, I did plumbing. My brother-in-law had a plumbing company. And I asked him, I said, Mike, why don't you expand? Like, why don't you add more trucks and hire more people? And he said, well, Stu, every additional truck is additional headaches. Every additional employee is additional headaches. That's the way he looked at it. And he had a level of financial security and a level of time freedom that afforded him everything he asked for and wanted out of life, and he didn't need more. And for him, he had taken his startup to the moon. It was already where his moon was, where he wanted to land and be. He was there. Now it's just a matter of living that dream. And he ended up getting a little bored of plumbing and started doing property development. And even in that position, he was able to hold a role where he didn't have to hire a lot of talent internally. He was able to just have like subcontractors that he had to deal with, but they're a little different than a full-time team member, right? And so I think where he ended up making the big money was when he pivoted and he switched into development. But he knew for himself what the moon looked like. And I think for you, you've gone, okay, my original dream was here, and this is where I wanted to go. And now I see I have been given this vision of a bigger opportunity. And now so you've been dealt this deck of cards, right? Or this hand of cards, and you get to choose how you want to play it. The franchising thing has happened. You guys started with trailers. How many trailers did you have before you decided to do a brick and mortar location?
We had 8
trailers, and those trailers, like you said, they were shutting down. They were opening, say, April.
All of them. Yep.
Yeah, kind of following the Rexburg seasons of when it's right to be open, right?
100%. So yeah, we definitely like honed in on, and there's also this like FOMO of like when it closes down, people are anxious about it all season. So there was some strategy behind that. I felt like people hit it harder in the summer because it felt like when the trailer rolled out, summer was coming, the kids were, I mean, it just kind of represented something to the youth in our community. But now that we're in the franchise space, you know, we're learning a lot about what that pivoting looks like. And you definitely need to be able to capitalize on a year-round income to be able to support even your team, your space, your business. And so we started entertaining, what does it look like to go into a brick and mortar? And we opened our first one in St. George about a little over a month ago.
Okay, so the St. George one's up and running. How's it going so far?
They're doing amazing. They are just killing it. You know, something about those warmer climates, I really think, yeah, maybe in these colder climates, a frozen dessert business can survive, but in those warmer climates, those frozen dessert businesses thrive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can. I mean, it makes sense, right? If you have summer, that's the time of year when people are going to go to a ice cream trailer in a cold climate area. In a hot climate, year round, there's the thought of, hey, I want a cold treat again, right? So,
right. 100%.
So as far as getting that up and running, what have been some of the struggles with that? That's not easy to get that first brick and mortar up and going, right?
Right. Well, you know, if you backtrack a little bit, the franchising in general, I didn't know anything about franchising when we first started franchising 3 years ago. It was that we weren't, you know, I didn't have this goal of like, I want to be a franchisor. I just had a lot of interest from people owning a franchise. And so I started going to conferences and trying to learn about franchising and what that looks like, and really jumped into it. And it's a huge upfront cost to start a franchise, to register, to get your FDDs drawn up by an attorney, to make sure that your business is legally sound. It is quite an investment. And so, you know, jumping into franchising, you're thinking like, how is this going to evolve? What does this look like? That's really kind of where we realized this is definitely, we're going to have to pivot, because when you're a new emerging franchisor and you don't have all the capital in the world to play with at this point in time, and at that point, I mean, we're kind of further along in the process at this point, but at that point, we were just bootstrapping everything because we felt like, you know, let's see what this looks like. It wasn't like we had this plan. So I'm learning a lot about franchising. We're growing and we're evolving. And that's when we realized, okay, well, if you have all these seasonal businesses and you're having to pay a corporate team year round, you really have to be generating the revenue to support that corporate team year round. And you can't really support a corporate team year round on a 6-month royalty revenue. So that's where we decided, like, let's start entertaining those warmer climates. I mean, we've had a lot of interest in the warmer areas, but just working through distribution and what does it look like to get our product to St. George, 8 hours plus away, right? So we had some things that we had to work through. Distribution, you know, that distribution chain it can be a challenge at times. So making sure that we're staying on brand with all of our materials, that everyone's getting the same quality product, that they're serving the same quality product. So that's really what opened our eyes to, okay, if we're going to be sustainable, we probably need to open up different options for different franchise models. So still have the trailer option for those who live in colder climates that want the 6-month seasonal side gig, but then also open up this opportunity to, a brick and mortar, a year-round brick and mortar, or maybe you want a food truck that's a traveling food truck and you can just attend events and festivals all over. So we really have kind of evolved in our process, like this small-minded, like we just need to stay this way because this is how we started and this is what was successful, to, if we're going to grow, we've got to have a growth mindset.
Yes. So let's talk about the growth, what it will take to grow now. right now I go to your website, I click franchising, and I can see that you guys have really done a good job of laying out what that looks like for a potential franchisee. It still currently states Idaho and Utah as the two key location areas, region that you're trying to go after. And you mentioned just a second ago that like, hey, I got to get this 8 hours away. How do I manage to get frozen goods safely 8 hours away and have it stay high quality, right? Is that the main reason for the current region you're going after? And when do you think you're going to want to expand to grow outside of those two states?
Yeah. So initially it just made sense to kind of like, we're here, let's start here and kind of go out this way. For a couple of reasons. I mean, our brand is here. You want a little bit of that brand recognition. So as you're growing, you want people to recognize your brand.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to Florida, nobody's going to know who I am. Would it be successful in Florida? Yeah, probably most likely. But just for the process of, and really the fact of the matter is we haven't done this before. So we're learning as we're going. So it just felt like, I keep saying this, it felt like a lot of what I've done is like gone by the feeling, like this feels right.
Yeah.
This feels good. So I just didn't want to I wanted to be conservative with what we were doing right in the beginning. I mean, we're only year 3 of franchising. Like this is still a new concept in the franchise world. So I wanted to keep them at least close enough that it would be easy for me to get to them if I needed to get to them. It would be easier for me to put out fires if I needed to put out fires. Well, fortunately, when you bring on franchisors and these are also adult people who have ambition, like they can put out a lot of those fires. So I don't necessarily have to be there like I thought I was going to have to. So now that we're to the point, really doing this brick and mortar has been like key for us. Let's see what this growth looks like this year. And if it's what we think it's going to be, like we'll be ready to go and ready to grow in those warmer climates. I mean, Arizona would be a phenomenal one that we've had interest there. Vegas, Nevada, just any of those like warmer climates. But I think we'll probably stay on the West for a little bit and then.
Yeah.
And yeah.
There's wisdom in what you're saying. I think feeling is important somehow. For those that are religious, there's a belief that like, if I'm feeling it, God's talking to me. That's how God directs me, is through my feelings, right? I think though, sometimes we have to be careful that we don't get in a headspace of becoming a creature of situations versus a creator of situations. Yeah. And, you get to create that. You get to decide which states you mark as yellow on your map next. And God can help you feel which ones are the right ones to add next, if it is the feeling that you're having, which is stay in the West. I think that's really smart up front as you scale and learn and grow. Here's a thought that came to me as I listened to you. You need winners. You need some franchisors that are killer winners. They know just what it's going to take to win and win big. Because when you get those first winners, it makes getting more franchisees that much easier. Like Stu Kent signed up BYU, top 20 business school, and that allowed us to get University of Minnesota, Oregon State University, and then from there, it got just so much easier to add more schools until Harvard, Stanford were customers as well, right? And so I think also the selling of franchises gets easier when you can point at franchisees' numbers that are just like really good numbers, high revenue, high bottom line on the store that they opened. They decided to open a second location. It was going so well. In that process, you're going to be able to say like markets that have X, Y, and Z things, warm climate, as an example, close to a national park as an example. Like, you'll learn what things work. Sadly, for some of the franchisees, they may be early adopters that help you learn what doesn't work. And that's a part of the process and maturation of a business. So,
right. No, absolutely.
Yeah. Go for it.
No, I mean, we are learning a lot of that. You want to be, this is your baby and you want to be picky, but you also need to have the right personalities. You need to have the go-getters. You need to have the people that aren't just like going to sit back and like, okay, now you do all the work and let it grow for me. Like, no, you want the people that are like, this is going to be so awesome. And I'm going to make this, even more awesome, or we want to compete with your locations, your corporate locations. You want those people, but sometimes it's hard in those interviews. You're just trying to find those right fits for your franchise. We've interviewed a ton. Some of them it was like, yes. Some of them it was like, well, I want you to provide everything and then it'll just grow and I can have high schools manage it, right? Or high schoolers. Like I shouldn't really be hands-on. I just want to put my money into it and then I just want to walk away. And that's not going to be a good fit. Because this is a business and this is like your start, even though it is a franchise and we figured out 90% of the hard stuff, like you've still got to be the one to run it. And you've got to watch your labor costs and you've got to watch your cost of goods. And so, yeah, there's a lot of, there's just a lot. It's just a lot, Stu.
Oh, it is so much.
And all the advice in the world I want. So you send it all.
One of the things that I think a lot of franchisors make a mistake with, and I don't have a big background in this stuff. My in-laws have done quite a bit of it. And some franchisors say, hey, you have to be an owner-operator. We want you there every day, all day, running this thing. That's how it will succeed. And a lot of franchisees that are, especially the ultra successful ones, they want to do what you described. They want to buy the franchise and then hire a team to manage it and step away. And so finding that balance of like making sure if it's someone who's saying, I don't want to be a part of the day-to-day, that they understand there's going to be a cost and they need to plan to hire the right general manager. And a lot of them have a vision of like, hey, we're going to hire a general manager. And then eventually they're going to be a regional manager hiring general managers for each individual location. And that can really work and work well. And those guys are usually the most savvy when it comes to inventory management and cost control and things like that. So.
Right. No, and you're right. And I mean, when I am saying the person that doesn't want to be hands-on, you are right. There is a person that is like that wants to hire a team and maybe they're the multi-unit developers and they want multiple units, and that totally works. I'm talking about the one unit person that thinks it can be ran by like a high schooler. That's where you get yourself into trouble. And sometimes you're like, did I communicate the expectation well enough? And you're wanting to make sure that you're selling to those people. But no, absolutely. I've talked to multiple people at these franchise conferences that are multi-unit franchisees. So they maybe have 10 to 20 brands that they're running. They're franchisees of multiple different brands and they're doing it really well. So I do see that there is a space for that. One thing that I do know is if there is not someone who is considered your operating principal that is in charge, and if they don't know how to do all the things, the workforce and the kids that you have working for you, they will eat you alive.
Yes, they can definitely eat you alive. One of the ways is by giving hours to people when there's not a need for extra help, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's their friends and they want their friends to be in there. They want to work with their friends because they want to have fun and they don't want to send their friend home when it's slow because, they want to have fun. Like if you don't have somebody that's watching those things and monitoring those things, you're going to be sunk before you even start.
Yeah. The trick there is you do need to keep talent managed, trained people that know how to do a good job, so they provide good product and good service. But it's like the balance is making sure you got enough feet through the door or people walking up to the trailer to make it worth keeping team, because there's like some magic that happens when there's enough life going on, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, you do want to find that balance, but definitely keeping your, COVID hit and cost of goods shot up. Well, they haven't really come back down. I mean, everything increased about 35%. And then all of a sudden, all the small business owners were panicked. Like, how are we going to stay afloat and how are we going to stay alive? So some adjustments do sometimes have to be made, but you're right. Like, you need your business to look alive, and you want those customers coming in the door and having a good experience. So there is definitely a balance of having the right amount of people and then not having too many and not overpaying.
Okay. Taking a quick break from the episode. Sorry to interrupt, but I have to take a second and thank the great team at Pod Allies that helps me produce this podcast. Startups with Stu is not an easy undertaking. It takes a lot of work and team power to get this thing done. So the team I use for my podcast, podallies.com, go check them out. If you are considering a podcast, if you've thought you have a dream for a show and you want to go make it happen, go to podallies.com and book a strategy call today. I promise you won't regret it. Speaking of the show or shows, let's get back to Startups with Stu in this episode. Forgive my interruption, but if you're interested, go check out podallies.com. Give us, before I jump back into more of the growth stuff, I like to get into some of the juicy details. Give me a story of cringe or a story of like, oh my gosh, this was a big fat mistake that we made in our business. Is there anything that comes to your mind where you're like, oh my gosh, what a mistake, what a disaster? Or maybe it was a wrong hire, or not a wrong hire, but a customer that has a terrible story where someone treated them poorly or something. You got anything? As I say all of that, does something come to mind where you're like, oh my God?
Like about 10 things come to mind. I mean, a part of a business is just evolving and growing, right? And I remember in the beginning, if we would ever get negative reviews, I would take it so personally, like it hurt my feelings. and then I spent a majority of the first 7 years actually working in the trailer. And so a part of that was the control. I wanted to control the product. I wanted to control like how everything went out the window. So yeah, I've experienced multiple cringe moments. One, when I look back at our social media from like even 5 years ago, like the first 5 years, oh man, it like makes me like, it's kind of that like, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? Like, I just thought I could do it all. And like the team that we have now is so good and they're so great at what they do. But looking at my social media from before, yeah, that's a little cringy.
Karie Ann's Desserts, by the way, folks, go check out and follow Karie Ann's Desserts on Instagram. It is a very well done page, by the way. Very pretty.
Thank you. And it's an evolution. And so if you want a good chuckle, like you look back 5 years and look at where we are now, like that'll give you a good laugh. Another thing is like for us, finding that balance. And this is something that I think is a little bit hard to train with young people. Most of our workforce they're high school to young college age, right? And so finding that balance of we have these rules, but also not getting so stuck on the rules, like not being so letter of the law that you can't feel that spirit of the law when it comes to helping customers. So yeah, those are some mistakes we made in the beginning. Like, this is what we'll give away and this is what we'll do. And if, so we had this Harry Potter day, for instance, and if they dressed up, they could get a free treat. Well, some adult came claiming to be dressed up, but had just picked up a stick on the side of the road, and that was their wand. And, my customer or my employee kind of turned them away, like, dude, you got to put some effort into it. And it really upset the customer. And that was a big teaching. That was a fail moment where, yes, we set these things, but our goal is just to make people happy. So if they went to the effort to find a stick wand, like, you give them that treat, like you give them that discount or whatever we've set aside, like, leave room for the spirit of the law, leave room for being generous. For me, I want everyone to have a good experience. So, and sometimes when you're working with young people, we have the most amazing employees, but sometimes, they get a little lackadaisical with what they're sending out the window. So if we have a customer that isn't happy with their product, like, we need to fix it. It's worth it. It's worth it to us to fix that. That cost of fixing that for that person is so minimal compared to losing them as a customer. And so those are some mistakes that you make in the beginning where you're like, I don't want, like, these are our rules and we're going to stick by them, and to evolving to, we just want everyone to be happy. We want them to come for the treat, but enjoy the experience, hang out. This is a place to gather. Like, that's what we want.
Yeah.
And making everyone feel that that's what this is about is more important to me than the, extra dollar I lost on the product that we needed to fix.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think you just hit a nail on the head. That's right for every business. Where I think businesses lose here is when you say that, and I believe it, I feel it in my heart, that's right, that's the right thing to do, we should do it. I think if a franchisee hears that, they go, bingo, Jessica just hit a nail on the head. That's what I want my employees to do. And then the general manager hopefully hears it, and at the new location, let's say in St. George, right? And you hope that they, in their heart of heart, feel it and want to do it. And then they have team members that have been on the job now for a month, and you hope they heard it, and they're going to invite friends to come work for the company, and they'll get hired. They're going to be the next scooper, right? And you hope and pray that they heard your message you just gave. My thought was, Jessica, what have you done to build really good training? Because training is so critical. There are things about certain businesses that they just always nail, right? Chick-fil-A has just really nailed the training side of their franchise business so well that when I go to one drive-through or another, I feel that same experience every time. I know it's going to be fast. I know it's going to be convenient. And then I know the product as well is going to be the same, right? And this stuff, I'm preaching to the choir in regards to this, but every business owner, every founder needs to understand just how critical it is that they hear from the leader consistent messaging about things like that one that will make a world of business of difference for Karie Ann's and other businesses.
Yeah. So, integrating that, it's a lot. Like, we're just at a fraction of what we want to develop in our franchise system. We have the operations playbooks, and I mean, it's a good 300 plus pages of here's some information, like even all the way down to the brand voice and who is Karie Ann and what do we envision when we think of Karie Ann, and how do we train our employees to see that vision and to understand like what we're trying to provide. One thing that we've talked a lot about is putting together an LMS like for that, to help with the franchisees, that help integrate. It's almost the culture that is more important than the processes in the beginning. Integrating that culture and making sure that the employees understand the culture first, and then really do the processes well second. So that may come as like a backwards way to approach it from other business owners. But in my mind, if you understand what you stand for and what you're going for, then the rest should fall into place. So that is something that we want to develop. That is a part of like our goals is having an LMS. We have an employee management system that's really been helpful that we work through, and a franchise point of sale that is really helpful. So we have some technologies that really have helped with that. But our next goal is really that LMS where we're teaching processes and that customer service in a learning-based setting so that when employees come in, they can do these trainings and they really see firsthand like what this looks like. Because you're right. You lose some through the cracks.
Absolutely. Yeah. Stay after the call for a second. I have an idea for you in regards to that.
Okay.
Let's talk about the exit strategy and growth to get there. So do you want to do this forever? Do you have in your mind this idea of like how you want it to end? Is the idea build and sell someday?
Yeah, I think that initially I didn't have a plan. It was
most founders, yeah.
It was like, we're just writing this and it's so fun. But now that I'm in the franchise space, I'm kind of getting to the point where in terms of growth and exit strategy, I'm probably at the point where we either need to bring on a strategic partner who knows more than I do about franchising to kind of really help just explode the brand, or not, and just keep growing organically. But I think we really like are at that point where we're primed to really just take off. Mm-hmm. And I know that I don't know all the things. And I know that there is so much opportunity here. Like there's so much untapped potential, even for this business. I'm just one person and we're operating with a skeleton crew right now. So really our growth is I either leverage debt and find those people, or I bring on a strategic partner and get it growing. And really it would be great to either be done in the next 5 to 10 years for me, whether that means I sell to someone else who continues to grow the brand. I don't think that this is something that's going away. Like I said, there's just so much opportunity here that we barely scratched the surface of with our brand. So really bringing on the right team to help grow, I think can get us there probably fairly quickly. It's just having those right people and the right personalities and people that understand your culture. So yes, exit. I do want to exit at some point. I'm probably not one that will like not do anything, but I'm one that like, I have all these ideas and I want to try different things. And so at some point I'll want to try something else.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have so many thoughts here. First, and I think most importantly, is starting to really make that give yourself a clear vision, knowing that we don't have crystal balls. We don't know what the final end game is really going to look like, but saying, yeah, 5 years, that's my goal. Okay. I can work back from there. 2030, I want to have a business that I can sell for $50 million. Okay.
Right.
By the way, when I said that, were you like, yeah, that's possible for me? Did you believe it? Or were you like, be honest?
For me, I'm like, that would be freaking amazing.
Okay, good. So you're like, maybe, but it sounds great, Stu. Yeah, okay. So I believe you can do it. Okay. And if the goal is a $50 million valuation by 2030, then you have to use that as a guide to work backwards. And by the way, you pick a number, really. Frankly, it's really hard to know exactly how much it will be worth. But if you let yourself believe 50 million, you say, okay, ice cream businesses, what have they traded for? Let's go see if I can ask Google Gemini, or I can ask ChatGPT to tell me what ice cream businesses have sold for in the past, dessert businesses as a multiple. How do they come up with valuation? You understand, okay, if you want to sell it for 50 million, you have to be doing 50 million in revenue. That's the answer. Absolutely. I don't know if that's the answer, but you find that out. And then okay, so how how many stores would I have to have in order to do 50 million in revenue? And is it different for chain versus franchise? I've chosen already the franchise route, but do I have to stay there? Maybe I'm better to switch. If I switch now, 5 years from now, I can get there, right? All of a sudden, I can give myself these steps to take to get to a $50 million valuation. And there's magic in it, because all of a sudden you set goals for your business to get where you need to be at the end of year 1, not where you need to be at the end of year 5. What do I got to do this year to make sure that I'm on track? Because 50 million, That's like pie in the sky. It's so out there today, but there is so much magic in not only you knowing this and believing it, but telling your husband and your kids and your team, your internal corporate team, like, our goal is this. And this year we're going to do this. And by the way, when you tell them, all of a sudden they get excited that they could be a part of something that could do that. By the way, let's say that you can get an 8 times multiple on your bottom line, right? Let's go easier. We'll go 10 times multiple on your bottom line. That means I got to get $5 million in EBITDA in order to get that $50 million valuation. So my aim becomes, what does it take to go get 5 million in EBITDA? How many stores do we got to open to make that happen? By the way, that's Stu's dream. That's not your dream today, maybe. You get to choose how high you want to reach, how hard you want to work. But I've been blown away at learning this. It was easier to run Stu Kent at $3 million in annual sales, which was now years and years ago, versus running Get Found First when it was at $300,000 in sales. That was easier.
True.
Here's why. When I had 3 million in sales, I had money to hire the right talent to help me run the business, so I didn't have to do it all. And so this leads to the other thing I wanted to talk, and I think so many lessons can be learned for all of our listeners. I hope they've stuck around for this part. When you know that when you have a vision of a business getting to 50 million, investors are paying attention now. They weren't when you said, oh, we did $1 million in sales last year. That's like, okay, great. If you're going to do 1.2, then I can't invest in that business.
Right.
But if you say, I've got a plan to get to 50 million and here's how I'm going to get there, investors, strategic partners, lenders as well will be more excited about that, because you're going to be able to say, here's how I'm going to do it. I worked backwards. I worked with a financial person, a CFO, outsourcer, internal, that helped me build the plan. I got to open this many stores this year. We're going to open this many stores next year. Each of those stores individually have to be at these benchmarks. When you let yourself dream that big and then you build the map, you get there. It happens. And you can have the money it takes to work to get there. You mentioned earlier that you make money 6 months a year. At Stu Kent, we made money twice a year, and it was really hard to finance the gap. So if you make money in September and January, you can usually get from September to January just using the business's cash flows. January through April, not so hard. April all the way to the next September, very challenging. And what we did was we kept raising the amount of money we knew we needed to get to the next stage. And that meant giving up another portion of my business. I wish I had tried to find a lender that would lend me money for that gap. Because if they had lent me that money plus enough to hire a smarter person that knew the higher ed space, or another person that could help with sales so that sales were bigger, so the returns were better for the lender, like that would have been better for me. So lending.
I love that. I mean, that is really great advice, because I do think that that's something that I'm toying with right now. Does it make sense to give up some ownership with that strategic partner, or should I just leverage debt and bring on those people? So, I mean, I do appreciate that, what you just shared, because at this point, we own the business 100%. I don't have anyone else that I'm answering to. And it's been a huge blessing. So, I mean, yeah, that
Yeah.
that was like huge advice. Huge advice.
Well, you're in a really good position where you get to decide how fast, how much risk, and whether it's right to bring someone else on board. But if you said, hey, look, I believe in myself that I can keep being the leader and I'm going to be good at this, this, and this, but I do not want to do or that. Like, those aren't my things. I'm going to bring in someone that has a lot of experience in this space who hasn't, maybe they did it as a VP of growth for Crumble, right? Or something like that. And you go to them and you say, hey, I can only pay you this much, but I can give you 10% of the business. And you're going to earn it over 4 years. You're going to get 2.5% every year for the next 4 years. Like, come work with me, come build with me. And if they do that and they hit their milestones and they're all of a sudden, for what you own in 90% of the business is worth way more than what you owned of 100% of something that grew at a third of the pace or a tenth of the pace that it could once it had that VP of growth that knew exactly the like roadmap you needed to take. Right.
And that point that you're talking about right now of like, you get to that point where you've grown it about all you can on your own. We're there. Like, we're at that point where that's why let's see what this brick and mortar looks like. We're really evaluating, like, what is this strategy going to look like? Because something's got to pivot in order to grow. And there is that potential is enormous. The interest has been huge for us. So really, I'm at that point that you're talking about. Like, I got to go one way or the other and commit to it. Do I believe in myself and in the brand? Absolutely. I think we have something pretty magical. It's just finding those right key people to insert to help you take you to the next level. And that's what we're at.
Everything you've been doing with all the hats stacked on your own head, because after the 6 months, you can't keep a corporate team very happy on no salary for the next 6 months, right? So
right.
You wear all these hats, and that says so much about you. You've stuck with that for 10 years. And if the magic, Jessica, of having some money to direct and guide a team and give them vision that knows they've got a certain job that's not going away in 6 months, like, you just wait and see. Also, when you've already made this small pivot, right? You've gone from trailers to the brick and mortars. As you prove out that these brick and mortars can make money year round and hit a top line revenue and a bottom line EBITDA that keeps a franchisee excited, makes them want to open a second location, like that, then it gets so much easier. And that VP of growth comes in and they're helping you go and find all the other people that can get excited about the new story that you're barely able to tell, because for the first 10 years, it was a different style of business you were building.
Right. I mean, I think that this chapter of what Karie Ann's is just at the beginning. Like, I think we're just in the infancy of where we can go. There's just so much potential, but you're right. It's finding those right people and implementing them where you need them. And that's really where we are. Like, we're there. Nobody tells you, like, you start a business and what it's going to look like, because you do think you can do it all, right? You think you can do it all for so long. And we've implemented so many things for our franchisees that, some of them are like, oh man, I'm a franchisee in another business. We don't have half of this. So I am proud of a lot of the things that we have done the last 3 years to legitimize our franchise, to make our franchisees successful and profitable. But that next level of growth, I definitely need to rely on other experience and other knowledge.
So I've always tried to utilize books, audio books and things like that to help me to keep my edge and stay sharp and think things through differently, getting perspectives from different business owners, sharing their stories of success. you in your town, I know of Trent Chickus that owns a bunch of McDonald's franchises. That's different than where you're at, but I bet he has so many, like a wealth of knowledge that he would be probably more than happy to share if you said, hey, Trent, I'm looking for a mentor who would sit down with me. Maybe, have you done that already?
Well, I was going to tell you, he's actually, we try to do roundtables with our franchisees. So where we host like learning seminars for them. And he actually was one of our guest hosts.
I love it. That's awesome.
Incredible. There really is so much. I think sometimes people get a little bit caught up in that, like, I want to appear like I have it all together and I have it all figured out. That's never been me. I'm not like a fake it till I make it type person. Like, I'm going to tell you face value. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm struggling with, because I think transparency is the only way for me to get those right people that I need in play. If I'm telling you one story, but really we're really doing terrible, and I'm telling you that we're like killing it, like that does me no good. Right. It doesn't do my psyche any good. You're just being an imposter, right? So really, like that is one thing, is we are trying to rely on those people who know more, and I know what I'm not good at. And you've even highlighted a lot of those like aspects of like, you're right. Like, these are things that I need to think about. Like, I know, having that strategic end game plan, like I need to have that, and I need to focus on that. Because right now it's been so comfortable. Like, we're just having fun and we're developing all these materials and it seems like so much fun, but without a purpose, what are you aiming towards? Like, so that's huge for me to hear, especially right now in this like really pivotal point of time with our business.
I can't wait to see where Karie Ann's goes from here. One last question for you as we close. You are a happy wife and mother of 3 and a business owner. Your business has been going for 10 years, which means what? If your oldest is say 20, that means they were 10 when you got this thing started. Probably a great job, and they got to learn and see mom work and work themselves in the business. Like, what advice do you have for the female founders listening today?
Oh man. So one thing I will say is that it is really hard to be a mother and be a business owner. It's not for the faint of heart. Finding balance in your life is extremely challenging at times. Especially, I mean, I have this inherited personality trait that like, I can't just do something halfway, which also sometimes comes at the expense of the other side. Like, something's got to give. If you're trying to do everything at 120%, you're just going to burn yourself out. So for me, if I had any advice, or if I could go back and do it over again, what I would focus on is finding more balance. The success will come and go, but your children are only children once. Like, they're only young once. You only have so much time with them in the home to be loving them and teaching them all the things. And you will blink twice and they will be out of the house, and then you'll have all this time to yourself. So I don't wish away those like younger years when your kids are still young. Finding balance and finding hobbies, that's something that I struggle with. People ask like, what are your hobbies? And I'm like, what are hobbies? Like, I'm building a business. What do you mean hobbies? Like, I have found joy in building a business and the growth in that. But if I could go back, I would definitely make more of an effort to find more of a balance, to have other things outside of work that I enjoy besides work and my family, because you really need to have all those aspects. You've got God, and God has got to be number one, but then to make sure that you're balancing all those aspects in your life, like, that's really challenging. So that would be my advice for other female founders, is find balance, find those things that are important to you and stand by it. And don't let growing a business get in the way of you being there and being present for your family.
Great message. Mrs. Jessica Mortensen of Karie Ann's. Go check out their website. And if you are interested in franchising it, you go to karieanns.com and you can click on the franchising link and they can get in touch with you. Go follow Jessica Mortensen on LinkedIn and let's help another founder take their startup to the moon. Thanks for joining me today for this episode.
Thanks, Stu.
Hey, founders, entrepreneurs, investors, and other listeners of Startups with Stu. Thank you for listening to this episode today. As I mentioned at the beginning, as I mentioned in the middle, I want to take a second again at the end and say, if you haven't yet and you're considering a podcast, go check out podallies.com. They sure help me a lot with the show. And I am so grateful for all that they do to help me accomplish Startups with Stu and get it out to the world so we can help more founders and take your startup to the moon. Go check out podallies.com and podup.com if you're interested in podcasting at any level.
Thanks for joining me on Startups with Stu. We have big goals to help millions of entrepreneurs. If you enjoyed this show, please take a minute to share it with someone else that needs to hear it, or leave a review. Remember, success is within reach for those who dare to dream big and take action. Until next time, keep pushing forward on your entrepreneurial journey.